All right, welcome to part 2 of my commentary for Spirit Blade: World of Shadows. Let me fire it up here right now. Okay, so Glenn Haskell plays the demon here. He also plays a messenger in the near the end. I used the same actor for Claudius Falkor and the Nephilim in Spirit Blade 1 to emphasize the bond between human and demon. This replacement started with a cloned body that had no human soul attached to it to begin with. So this demon is just, I wanted it to be clear that this is not the Nephilim, this demon here, but just some lower caste demon filling the role of Claudius Falkor, as Vincent says in the last scene. Also setting up here why this death of Claudius, quote-unquote, is different from the first, since his body is being killed too, not just his soul, as in Spirit Blade 1, when the Council killed him but preserved his body. And that's more fully explained retroactively in an upcoming scene. It's me doing the voice of the Council again, just taking one voice track and multiplying it while using various pitches and effects to muddy it up a bit, which is why diction and enunciation is so important when performing this character. It's hard to understand the Council now and then, even when I do my best at that.
First, contacting Falkor's successor.
Now, upcoming here, Falkor's successor is, of course, Victoria Falkor, played by Beth Pennington. She played the Overseer in Pilgrim's Progress: Similitude of a Dream. She's got a great voice for aggressive characters. I was so happy that she did this. It's a major story element, and yet it's largely isolated here in these scenes. Beth is a career actor in the Hollywood area and has a lot of theater experience and a growing film background. She's also the wife of my friend Mark Pennington, who was a trooper in the last scene. He was the rookie trooper that got killed at the end, and he plays other roles as well later on. It was such a pleasure to work, though, with Beth and with experienced actors like her. Tim O'Donnell here plays Rainan, excuse me. And this not the Tim O'Donnell who serves as the general administrator for Christian Geek Central. This is a local actor in his early 20s, I think, with a very unique voice that made him sound in his mid-early teens, but allowed me to still take advantage of an older actor's experience. So it was a really unique situation that was such a blessing, as I was really worried about finding a young teenage boy that could really act, and my options were not looking good. And the intercom bit with Mom over and over was time-consuming with all the editing, going back and forth, Mom, 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 the beeping and the effects for each one of those interrupting moms.
Pause playback.
And the background music, which you can hear behind his voice for every split second, every time he comes through the intercom, that background music has to cut in too, so. He also calls her Skag, which, that was so crazy, that word. I discovered after, way too far into the production, that this word had already been invented by somebody who also had the idea of blending skank and hag, which was my thinking at the time. So, in my defense, at the time I wrote the script, I could find no reference to its existence in slang dictionaries online. I only found it as the name of a creature in the Borderlands video game, so oh well, I tried, but weird minds think alike, I guess. The Sovereign theme is in the background. Bum 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 bum. That little theme. I swore after the original Spirit Blade I'd never write an original score again. It was horrible in Spirit Blade 1, and I was thrilled to replace all of that music in the special edition of Spirit Blade. I did some minor transitional bits of score in Dark Ritual, along with the song Taffy Men's chorus motif, but I figured that was the end. But when looking for a musical score to fit the revelation of how God had orchestrated the book to be publicized through the selfish and evil actions of multiple people, I found some licensed music that was perfect for that moment when the book was published, but I really wanted a theme that could be used in the background of all these scenes that would sound mysterious when I use them here, but then I could also use on top of a different harmonic structure that would make it sound beautiful instead of mysterious when the book was finally published. So I bought the music for the moment when the book is made public and wrote an original melodic concept that could go along top of it. And then I took that melody and created a simple electronic score to put under it for all of these scenes with Victoria and Rainan. So the same melodic theme sounds mysterious and a little tense in all of these scenes with Victoria, but then beautiful later on when the book is made public. The idea being that God was active in all these prior scenes and working in ways that were mysterious and that we didn't understand because of all this cruel and selfish stuff going on between people. But then it was revealed that God was working later on and that it was a beautiful thing that it was made into.
can I be of service?
That little bit of the prophet daily affirmation that cut in a minute or so ago, a little bit of world building there, which these audio dramas sorely lack, but it also introduces the character who's very relevant later on, of course. I wanted to bring the trilogy full circle and also resolve this plot thread of a Claudius clone being left behind at the end of Spirit Blade 1. If Jesse couldn't do Spirit Blade 3, the plan B was to have him killed off camera instead of in a scene with Vincent, and this stuff would all just be delivered by some generic computer voice, but it's so much better with Jesse doing it. I was ecstatic when he so readily agreed to come back for this. It's so cool. I had to double check and triple check all my logic on this. I mean, Claudius was manually initiating a recording before each of his meetings with the council without their knowledge. So naturally, those recordings were not being made anymore once Claudius was fully replaced by the Nephilim. And I make assumptions here, as I do throughout this trilogy, that demons miss some details. Sometimes because God interferes in an obvious way, and other times just because they don't know and see everything. Now this part, the transfer is complete onward, is all new material. As that scene ended with Claudius' death in Spirit Blade 1. I loved going back to that story moment and giving an extended cut treatment to this.
With pleasure.
And you might have heard earlier my when I said file A117. That's a partial use of my birth date, 4/11/78, which I use as default numbers anytime numbers are needed in this trilogy. Okay, let's talk about Ebony and Brittany Stevens. Brittany Stevens voiced Ebony U.2 in Dark Ritual and came back for this opening scene in the third part. She moved away not long after recording Dark Ritual, and on top of that, I wanted my wife Holly to voice Ebony again because Rand was getting attached to that voice, of that version of Ebony's voice, through his creation of Aya in Dark Ritual, and we're building on that attachment in this story. So Brittany recorded her lines on her laptop and sent them to me. We did a test first to see if her mic quality would be good enough for me to mess with and put her in the room with us, but the recording quality just wasn't up to it. So she starts and ends the scene in this tank and is transformed by the next time we see Ebony in a scene.
To monitor the spirit realm and set up barricades.
But yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it back to Holly's voice, because I knew that people were going to be investing in the idea of Rand getting together with Ebony, and this voice, Ebony as represented by Aya in a sense. He was building this attachment to Aya, and so we would want to see that relationship come to fruition, and it wouldn't feel like it was really coming to fruition and a moment of true connection if like he was connecting with the Brittany Stevens version of the Ebony character.
Right now, okay? Please.
All right, sorry. Okay, just tell me what to do. Now, there's a bit here coming up where Merrick says, I think she was out, like 5 minutes, 30 minutes ago, or a minute ago, or something like that, I added that in during the mixing process because you notice Rand doesn't audibly respond. There's just a cold glare that's implied, It just seemed like a long stretch of Rand talking and Ebony not saying anything in response. So I wanted to put that in there. I think it comes in some point right in here.
Instruction nanites I'm giving you. Just breathe it in normally. It will keep you under until the U.2 nanites on your bones and cartilage begin to dissolve. At that point, their defense mechanisms will trigger massive...
See, here's Merrick's walking up now.
U.2 nanites will be under attack.
Footsteps in the background.
You'll be awake from that point on, but you still...
So he's standing next to him now.
Pain. Just a great deal of pressure.
Yeah, I think she was out like 30 seconds ago, but I'm sure all of that was very comforting to her. Cold glare implied. All right, sorry. Standing by the door. And then Merrick just reacts and walks away. So that wasn't in the original script. But again, yeah, it just felt like I wanted to break up Rand's talking a little bit. And it also made her unconscious state more clear to set up the bit, right there about Rand telling himself that he's doing great. He says, "Oh, you're doing great," and I wasn't talking to her, I think in general I did a better job of keeping character subplots running in this script. Merrick takes every chance to blame Salos, which we'll hear coming up after this. And Rand's personal insecurities show up more, like he does, and kind of trying to boost his own confidence. You're doing great, that kind of thing. This is easily the most character-driven of the trilogy. And which I wish all 3 parts were as character-driven as this one was. And I still wish I were a stronger writer, even though I see strengths in the script in this one. It's just writing isn't my strength.
How do you feel?
Did it work? I still sound the same.
I also wanted to build the Merrick and Rand
Take a few
friendship
hours. Let me check the
as
readings.
quickly as possible, as much as possible in this story, which is why they do a lot of interacting in particular. And it makes sense, you know, with Vincent out of the picture. These two are the ones in the main cast that would share the most history at this point. But I wanted the friendship to be developed as much as possible so that Rand's sacrifice would have impact at the end of the story. And it's inspired a lot by the Crichton-Dargo relationship from Farscape. I just loved that kind of bromance thing going on, or whatever you want to call it. That buddy relationship throughout that series was just fantastic. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I could build anything remotely, you know, that wonderful in the time that I spent here, but that was certainly an inspiration for me.
You too.
So
I mean,
we got different types of characters in this story. Salos and the Sanctafi have great knowledge, but they lack maturity. You know, I'm aiming for snapshots of geek Christianity in this story. Rand is the introverted, silent struggle type. Vincent is the passionate, angry legalist. Salos is the passionate intellectual that lacks wisdom and maturity. Ebony is the self-conscious victim. All of these are personality types or backgrounds that you're going to find in the Christian church, and that I frequently find in my interactions with Christian geeks and as I evaluate myself. And this story is largely about acknowledging that the world and the people in it are broken, including Christians, and we have to figure out how we deal with that reality rather than pretending it doesn't exist.
What kind of signal are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for a breakthrough in cosmetic nanites.
Rand.
I get daily updates on where the technology is at. My body rejects the current line of products, but there's supposed to be an adaptable cosmetic nanite breakthrough in just a few more months. If I'm ever going to tell Ebony what I'm feeling,
Yeah, that was important to put in there, that his body is rejecting the current line of products, because, you know, I didn't, you know, in a world as the technology as advanced as this one, you know, it's like, well, come on, he shouldn't be ugly, they should be able to fix that. So I had to kind of inject the idea that, okay, it's like he's rejecting it, his body's rejecting it, you know.
I think he might even know the texts from the book better than I do already.
That's Drac. No one knows the book better than you.
He and the Sanctafi have been using Miracli to speed their learning. They're still lacking a lot of wisdom and maturity, but their knowledge of the book is amazing.
So there's that concept introduced there. You know, there are a number of geeks that I run into, and some of them are very intellectual, but you can just see in how they operate in their relationships and in their lives that there's not an equal amount of maturity and wisdom in how they carry out their day-to-day lives.
That reminds me. He and I have been working on something we'd like to...
Excuse me, sir. There's something on Newsnet you'll want to see.
Thank you.
Learned that just hours ago, a terrorist attack resulted in the destruction of the Atlantis corporate.
Compared to the first two parts of the trilogy, the music is more somber and weighty here. You hear this kind of low-key score coming in. You know, I couldn't get any more epic with music after Dark Ritual. That's about as epic as it gets. And so I took it further by reflecting the feeling of mourning or defeat. You know, sometimes going bigger means going smaller or going more emotional. Personalizing the obstacles rather than just making them bigger or more spectacular. Although I take a shot at that, you know, at making them bigger and spectacular too, you know, a few times in this story when I can. Now, Merrick here represents those of us among Christians that sees the media coverage given to the worst examples of Christianity and then feels just the pain, the frustration of that perception being perpetuated, you know. Certainly something that frustrates me. Rand is more compassionate and recognizes acts of hate as symptoms of sin or brokenness, you know. And I think that both perspectives are valid and should both be included in our reactions to public disgrace among Christians.
Fres me if he's the victim right now. Are you insane?
No, he's not a victim, but
I wanted to save him too.
I really like how those lines there overlapped and how that turned out. I enjoy the challenge of making it seem like actors are recording at the same time.
Now, hundreds of people, and countless more might reject the Only and be doomed forever because of what he's done. This is not about bringing him back anymore. It's about bringing him down.
what do you want to do next?
I'm not sure. This changes everything. We'll have to do some major damage control for Seekers in the public eye, but we can't let up on the Shada either.
Vincent probably did put some Drac in their coffee, but they'll still retaliate. And things will get
That
really
Drac in their
worse.
coffee bit.
Salos and
You know,
I
Drac
have
doesn't always
possibly
function as a
might be
one-to-one for
useful.
feces,
Alright,
you know.
let's
But I love the
continue
mental
together.
image
I need
if
some
it means
time to think
feces
about
right
the
there.
stuff.
And he probably did put
I
some
have to do something
poop in their coffee.
Put a new face on Seekers.
Better
So I got a
yours
kick
than
out of
mine.
writing that line.
Looks like your 15 minutes just got extended, Gridboy.
I love Ran,
Maybe I
but
can
I'm
open
so
up a
glad I will
song
never
and
have to
some
mix him in scenes ever again. All of his servo movements are so time sensitive, time intensive to put in. Every time that guy moves, there's got to be some sound to go along with it. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned for part 3 of the Spirit Blade World of Shadows commentary coming up soon.